Hey everybody. This is Miss Wendy with Real Talk with Miss Wendy, and I'm going to do the second chapter check in for the cosmetology standard Milady book. This is chapter 2, General Anatomy and Physiology. Excuse me. Let me start by saying this is probably the most difficult chapter to know the information unless you have a background that's medical, because it's so unrelatable. There's certain things that you're going to remember because you use them all the time. You use the hands, the feet, the head, the neck, those things that you use. But a lot of the other information is really just going to be get through the test. So if you're taking this as your chapter test, you're going to want to do a lot more studying. If you're using this as a state board test, depending on your state you're in, will determine how much general anatomy and physiology is on the test. I live in Florida, so my general anatomy and physiology information is about, it's on the written portion of our test. It's 24% for client services, and that is included in the client services. So it's really only a couple of questions here and there. I've heard some tests are a little heavier on general anatomy and physiology, but this is not a test that I would stress over. This is not information that I would stress over for state board prep. With that being said, you're going to see me look at my answer key, which I have right here. I do have my answer key. You're going to see me look at that answer key a lot during this session. This is not a chapter that I'm super comfortable with. It's not relatable for me, like I said, so I have a hard time remembering the information. There's some things I know just from repetition. Same as you. There's some things you're going to know just from repetition. But again, if there's anything that you just don't know or don't understand why the answer is what it is, that is the time to go look that information up in your book. That's what it's there for. So let's jump in to chapter check-ins, chapter 2, General Anatomy and Physiology. And this is Real Talk with Miss Wendy. All right, question 1. How is anatomy different from physiology? Now, this is very, very long for each of them, but let's go through them so that you understand why we're choosing the one we're doing. So, A, anatomy is a study of interior parts of the human body. I like that. Whereas physiology is the study of external parts of the human body. Well, that doesn't make sense. Anatomy is a study of the structures of the human body, whereas physiology is the study of the activities of those structures. That sounds very reasonable. We're going to hold on that one. Anatomy is the study of the skeletal system of the human body, whereas physiology is the study of the organ systems. That is not correct. I know that's not correct because anatomy is the study of all the structures. Anatomy is the study of individual organs of the human body, whereas physiology is the study of the organ systems of the human body. Close, but not quite. So the answer is B. This is where anatomy is a structure, it's the study of the structures of the human body, and physiology is the study of the activities, what those structures actually do. So number 2, what happens during mitosis? Well, I know what mitosis is, but if you don't, let's go through them and see if we can figure it out. A cell combines simple molecules to form a complex molecule. I know that mitosis is a division. So anything that has combines, I'm going to automatically throw out. Enzymes in cell fluid digest other molecules for food. No, that does not sound correct at all. A cell, it sounds weird in the sentence. A cell reproduces by dividing into 2 identical cells. Okay, that has to do with division, so I'm going to stick with that one for now. The tissue surrounding a cell allows certain substance to enter the cell. That is not mitosis. Mitosis is an action, not a thing. So we're going to go with C. C is your correct answer. A cell reproduces by dividing into 2 identical cells. That is what mitosis is. Which type of tissue binds and supports other body tissue? A, nerve tissue, B, muscle tissue, C, connective tissue, or D, epithelial tissue. Well, again, Milady likes to trick people. We're looking for the most correct answer. So the tissue that binds and supports other body tissues is connective tissue, right? That makes sense. It binds. Another word for binds would be to connect. Which scenario is an example of a situation in which a cosmetologist should understand the endocrine system? All right. I do not recall what the endocrine system is, but I'm going to go with it's something that's on the inside of your body, not like your skin. So, a cosmetologist experiences pain. Well, I don't think that this is a situation where you should understand the endocrine system because you have pain in your hands and wrists. So, if I'm looking at the three of these, there's three that all say a cosmetologist. There's one that's about the client. And the endocrine system has to do with your levels of hormones, estrogen, and progesterone. So your answer is going to be B. That's what stood out to me is the fact that all three of these say cosmetologist. This is the only one that has to do with the client. So that's a pretty big flag for me that that's going to be the correct answer. 4 is B, correct. Which statement best describes the relationship between organs and body systems? Let's see if we can figure it out. An organ is a group of tissues that perform a specific function, okay, whereas a body system is a group of organs that work together to perform functions. I like that one. An organ is a group of tissue that performs a specific function, whereas the body system is a group of organs located next to each other. That sounds silly. An organ is a group of tissue that performs a specific function. They're repeating this over and over again, so clearly that is the correct part. Whereas a body system provides a protective enclosure around a group of organs. No, that's not the body systems, the relationship, no. An organ is a group of tissues that performs a specific function, whereas single body system controls the entire body. No. I'm kind of like an A. Let's take a look. 5 is A. A is the answer. We know that it's a group of tissues that performs a specific function, and then your body system is a group of organs that work together to perform those functions. That statement definitely describes a relationship, right? Working together. 6, a cosmetologist is designing a new eye makeup style for a client. Which bones will affect the appearance of the eye makeup that is applied? All right. So here's how I'm going to break this down. I'm looking at them, right? The parietal bone and the occipital bone is in the side and the back of the head. That has nothing to do with eye makeup. We're going to get rid of that one. These two have to do with your hands and feet. Phalanges, I remember, obviously has to do with your fingers, and your tarsals and metatarsals, I believe, are in your feet. So the only one that makes sense is going to be your zygomatic bone and your lacrimal bone. Now, I'm probably going to get a lot of these words wrong. Don't come for me for that. I'm a hairstylist. I am not in the medical field. All right. So the answer is going to be A. Let's just verify that. 6 is A. All right. Which of these scenarios of a possible cosmetology task is a situation in which a cosmetologist needs knowledge of the metacarpus and the phalanges? Well, there's our words up here. We're going to find them down here now. So a cosmetologist is giving a client a body wrap treatment. A cosmetologist massaging a client's hands. A cosmetologist considering the contours of the head. Or a cosmetologist massages a client's feet. Well, I'm going to go with your metacarpus and your phalanges are either going to have to do with your manicure or your pedicure. These two can be gotten rid of. Now, I believe phalanges specifically has to do with your fingers. So I'm going to go with B. Let's verify that. 7 is B. So, a situation in which a cosmetologist needs knowledge of your metacarpus and your phalanges is going to be during the manicure service. All right. Number 8, which part of the skeletal system has the function of protecting the brain? This should be a pretty easy one for you. All of these do not fit except for cranium. Cranium, D. What is the function of the cervical vertebrae? All right. Is it to connect the sternum and the scapula? I would say not. Your sternum's in your front, vertebrae's in the back. To support the body's weight? Maybe. Probably gives some support. To give support and structure to the neck? Highly likely. To give support to the tongue and its muscles? Definitely not. All right, so we've got a choice of between B and C. I don't recall anything about the body weight, so I'm going to go with C. It's to support the structure of the neck. So number 9, yes, is C. Moving on, number 10. What are the 7 bones in the ankle area collectively called? All right, this is going to be an absolute guess for me. When you have a question that's an absolute guess, because I can't remember which one is the feet, which one's the hands, which one's that kind of thing, right? So if you just don't know and you are absolutely guessing, you cannot remove any of them because you just don't know. You're going to guess B every time. Here's the reason why. If you Christmas tree your test, this one you choose A, that one you choose B, this one you choose A, that one you choose D, what's going to happen is it's more likely, that you're going to miss the correct answer. But if all 10 of them that you absolutely don't know and it's a complete pure guess, if of those 10 you all choose B, it's highly likely you're going to get more of them correct for the simple fact that you chose the same letter every time. So I'm going to choose B. I could not tell you if that is correct or not. Let's take a look. Number 10 is B. How about that? So the 7 bones in the ankle are collectively called the tarsals. Number 11, a cosmetologist performing a hand massage during a manicure service. Which scenario describes the correct approach? All right, let's break that question down because it just kind of floated over me. A cosmetologist performing a hand massage. Got it. During a manicure service, of course. Which scenario describes a correct approach? Gotcha. When massaging the adductors, pressure is directed from the muscle's origin to insertion. When massaging the soleus, pressure is directed from the muscle's insertion to origin. When massaging the opponents, pressure is directed from the muscle's insertion to origin. And when massaging the trapezius, pressure is directed from the muscle's origin to insertion. Okay, I know this is a standard information for anything you're doing with massage techniques. You're going to go from insertion to origin. So that removes 2 of them from me. Let me take a look real quick. 11. Okay, that removes 2 of them. So A and D no longer are going to fit because I know that it goes from insertion to origin, and both of those are the same for B and C. The only difference is one is your soleus and one is your opponens. Now, if I had to guess between the 2, I do know the answer because I looked, but if I had to guess between the 2, soleus sounds a whole lot like the sole of your feet. So I would choose C if I was doing a critical thinking answer. And that actually is the correct answer. It is C. Your opponents has to do with your manicure. All right. 12. We're halfway there. Almost. A cosmetologist performing a foot massage during a pedicure service. On which muscles will the cosmetologist be directing pressure? Here we go with a lot of them that I'm not going to be able to recognize or say correctly. The platysma and the sternocleidomastoidus, the procerus and the buccinator, the trapezius and the supinator, the flexor digitorum brevis and the flexor digiti minimi. Okay, this has to do with a foot massage. Which muscles are we directing the pressure? All right, let's see if I can figure a couple of these out. Trapezius, I believe that is muscles in your arms. or back, something like that. Sternocleidomastoiditis or mastoidus, however you say that. Mastoid, I believe, is in your face. We're talking about the feet right now. So we've got Procurus and the buccinator, or the flexor digitorum brevis and the flexor digiti minimi. Now, if I had to guess between those two, I'd probably guess D. The digiti and digitorum thing are kind of giving me a clue. That seems reasonable. Let's take a look. 12 is D. It's the flexor digitorum brevis and the flexor digiti minimum. Basically, all I did was between the two of them. That one has more implication that it has to do with your toes or fingers. Digiti, digits. So that's why I chose that one. What muscle action is controlled by the autonomic nervous system and controls body functions such as breathing and digestion? Voluntary. Okay, breathing is definitely not voluntary. Anterior, cardiac, or involuntary? That one seems pretty obvious to me. Hopefully it does to you too. We're going to go with involuntary. 13 is correct. D. Which muscle causes wrinkles across the forehead? Occipitalis, epicranius, platysma, and frontalis. All right. I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this one. Occipitalis has to do with the back of your head. Epicranius has to do with your back of your head, I believe, or top of your head. Platysma, no idea. But frontalis, that implies that it's in the front of the head, which is also where the forehead is. So 14 is D, frontalis. 15. Which muscles do people use when they straighten their wrist, hand, and fingers to form a straight line? I'm going to do that, right? I want to see what that does. Well, that looks pretty extended. So extensors, it sounds like a reasonable answer for which muscles are we using. Let's look at 15 is D, extensors. So that one popped out at me for no other reason than I was extending my arm. Which description best defines a motor nerve? Motor nerves are protected by the spinal column and control the lower body. Motor nerves carry impulses from the brain to the muscle or glands. Motor nerves control all of the body's function. Motor nerves carry messages from the sense organs to the brain and the spinal cord. Kind of like B. What do you guys think? Motor nerves can't possibly control just the lower body. That doesn't seem to make sense to me. Motor nerves control all of the body's functions. That can't be possible because we do have involuntary nerves. And I'm going to go with motor nerves are not the same as involuntary nerves. I could be wrong. Motor nerves carry messages from the sense organs to the brain and the spinal cord. I don't understand the sense organs, why that word is in there. So I guess if I had to guess, I'm going to go with B. Let's see if we're right. Number 16 is B. Motor nerves carry impulses from the brain to the muscle or glands. Do you see how you have to try and eliminate? You've got to use critical thinking. What do you know in all of your knowledge in life in general? And what could you answer from that knowledge? If you're younger, you're not going to have as much experience. You're not going to have as much knowledge about things like that, about things like anything, really. But recall on your critical thinking to try and eliminate at least one or two of your answers to help you come up with the best guess if you have to. If you're not doing a best guess as a guess that you actually thought about and have some indication of which way you're going, then just choose B. Like I said, every time, just choose B. All right, this is a long one. During an initial manicure consultation, a cosmetologist learns that a client is being treated by a healthcare provider for a condition that limits the ability of the nervous system to process sensory information. That was a lot. So basically, I'm getting ready to do a manicure, and my client is telling me that they're seeing a doctor because their sensory processes is limited. Okay, so that tells me that they don't feel things. They're sensory. They don't. That's feelings. They don't feel things correctly. Which of the following is an example of a way a cosmetologist might change the planned services in response to this information? Okay. The cosmetologist should avoid a vigorous scalp massage to prevent overstimulating the nerves. Hold on. We're doing a manicure. That's out. The cosmetologist should be careful with hot water to avoid accidentally burning the client. If they don't sense how hot the water is, that could definitely be a reason. So we're going to hold on to B. The cosmetologist should consider a deep massage of the lower legs or arms. Well, again, we're doing a manicure. The cosmetologist should soak the hands in cold water prior to a manicure to numb the fingertips. I have never heard of that. Do not recommend. So we're going to go with B. 17 is B. The answer is B. All right, number 18. We're getting there, people. Each of the following is a blood vessel except, here's that word, except they like to do that with Milady. Each of the following is a blood vessel except pulmonaries, arteries, arterioles, venules. All right. I do not know the answer to this one. I could probably guess critically, but I don't know how well I would do with that. So instead of spending my time on this question, I'm going to choose one of those options. I'm going to choose B, arteries. Don't think I'm going to be right though, but let's go see. 18 is A, pulmonaries. That's one you're just going to have to look up and you're just going to have to know. As I said, there's some of them that you're just not going to bother with because the likelihood of that being on a state board question is very low. The likelihood that that's the difference between a passed test and a failed test is very low. So the answer is A, pulmonaries. 19. How do veins function in the circulatory system? Veins pump blood through the entire circulatory system. Veins carry oxygen-rich blood away from the heart. Veins transport oxygen, poor blood, and waste products. Veins take oxygen from air and transfer it into blood. All right. This one's going to be tough for me because I don't know the answer to this one. All right, so veins take oxygen from the air and transfer it into the blood. Can't do that. Your veins aren't exposed. Veins transport oxygen, poor blood, and waste products. That is very possible. It's a total guess for me. Veins pump blood through the entire circulatory system. I definitely like that. Veins carry oxygen-rich blood away from the heart. I don't think it's away. I think it's towards, but let's see. 19 is C. Right? 19 is C. They transport oxygen, poor blood, and waste products. So they're moving away from the heart. So there you go. That's another one of those you're just going to have to look it up. I told you there was going to be some that I just don't know. It's always going to happen. 20. Which of the body systems function to remove waste material from the body cell to the blood? All right, so which one are we removing waste material from the body cells to the blood? Circulatory system, excretory system, lymphatic system, digestive system. Now, I read a correlation between these two questions because I knew that the answer to number 19 was C. It transports oxygen, poor blood, and waste products. What is that? It's the veins. Where is the veins located? In the circulatory system. So which of the body systems remove waste material from the blood cells to the blood? Well, I'm going to go with circulatory system. Might not be. Could be wrong. Could be lymphatic. But let's see. 20. It is C, lymphatic. It was between the two for me. This looked very familiar, but clearly it was a little bit different. the lymphatic system, C. 21. The gland-like structures in the immune system that filter bacteria, viruses, and cancer cells are called what? All right, the only one I know that is gland-like, I just know this because of experience in life in general, is going to be your lymph nodes. So 21 is B, it's your lymph nodes. You have them all over your body. Their job is to filter out bad crap. And that's often something that they check when they're looking for cancer to see if it has spread to other parts of your body. Again, I just know this from not my personal experience, but my family's experience. All right, number 22. Choose the body system that functions to regulate the body's temperature. All right, we're talking about the system that regulates the body's temperature. Circulatory, integumentary, lymphatic, or respiratory, All right, I kind of like A or B. Respiratory does not sound right for body's temperature. Lymphatic, it doesn't sound right for body's temperature. I don't know if circulation has to do with the body's temperature. I mean, I know that like you get cold feet, cold hands kind of thing, and that's circulation. And then integumentary, I cannot remember what that system is. So let's go ahead and check. It is B, integumentary system. It's the first time that word's popped up. So it regulates the body's temperature, which I think the integumentary system has the skin in it now that I think about it. So that makes sense. 23. A cosmetologist is discussing possible treatments for dry scalp with a client. In order to make informed decisions about scalp treatments, which body system should the cosmetologist understand? Integumentary, lymphatic, muscular, or skeletal? All right, we are talking about treatments for dry scalp. So because of that, I'm going to go with A. 23 is A, integumentary system. A is, again, very reminiscent of the question prior, regulates the body's temperature. And again, I said that I believe the integumentary system has the skin in it. All right, 24. Select the body system that includes the pituitary, thyroid, and adrenal glands, endocrine, excretory, integumentary, and lymphatic. I don't know why, but in my head, I think it's endocrine. If I didn't have that idea in my head at all, I would choose B, just because I have to choose something. But because I have just a slight spidey sense, I guess you could say, we're going to go with D. So 24 is D, the endocrine system. Last question, we about did it, y'all. After an initial consultation with a new middle-aged client, a cosmetologist learns that the client has noticed that thinning hair has been improving. Yay! When asked if there is anything different in the client's routine, the client indicates recently starting estrogen hormone replacement therapy. In order to understand whether these two situations may be connected, which body system should the cosmetologist be knowledgeable about? Lymphatic, nervous, circulatory, and endocrine. Well, I don't know. We're going to go with an absolute guess on that one, and we're going to choose B. I don't think it's B, but that's the one we're going to choose. It is D, the endocrine system again. So up here we were talking about the endocrine system because it says the pituitary, the thyroid, and adrenal glands. Here we're talking about hormone replacement therapy, which means she's getting hormones, which has to do with your endocrine system. All right, we survived all 25 questions in general anatomy and physiology. I hope this helps. Stay tuned for the next chapter. I'm just going to keep going right in a line until we have the whole series done. So this was Miss Wendy, and it's Real Talk with Miss Wendy. Talk to you later.